Assalamualaikum everyone, welcome back to this channel. This is me Alia Wahid and you are on the channel of Medicare. So as you know that we have started the chapter of pharmacognosy, and we have started the introduction of carbohydrates and the classification of it. So in the previous lecture I have discussed what is the introduction of carbohydrates and what are the classification of it, and we have discussed the monosaccharide there. But now in this lecture we are going to start the lecture of monosaccharides, and we are discussing the whole detail of it, the introduction and its classification. But before starting our today's lecture, it's my habit to revise the previous one so that you can remember what we have studied in the previous lecture. And if you have don't see this video, then please go check my channel and see this video. So as you know that in the previous lecture we have discussed that what is pharmacognosy. We have shortly introduced it, that the pharmacognosy means the study of crude drugs. And what are crude drugs? So these are the drugs which are obtained from the natural source like the plants, animal, minerals and the marine organisms and plants. Then after that we have studied that what is a carbohydrate. We have seen the definition of it, that these are the organic compounds that contain the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen in it. Then we have seen that carbohydrates are the polyhydroxy, aldehyde and ketonic groups which contain the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and the ratio of carbon, hydrogen and the oxygen is same as in the water, because the water the percentage of hydrogen and oxygen is 2:1, and similarly in carbohydrate the percentage between the hydrogen and the oxygen is 2:1. Similarly, then we have seen the formula of carbohydrate, which is C and H2 and O, and N can be 1, 2, 3 and so on. Then we have studied what is the role of carbohydrate, what is the function of it. So we have seen that it deals with the energy. It can cause the storage of the energy. In the plants it's stored in the form of starch, cellulose. In the plants in the animals it stored the energy in the form of glycogen. Similarly, it also helps to transport the energy into our whole body process. And the carbohydrates major function, it make the structural components. Like in the plant it make the cellulose. Cellulose is a carbohydrate. Similarly in the fungi it is making the cell wall made up of chitin, and chitin is a form of carbohydrate. Similarly in the animals it is making the glycogen and the cartilage, which are the carbohydrates. After seeing its importance, we have studied that what is the classification of it. We have studied that it is classified into the three groups. First group is the monosaccharide. Mono means one and saccharide means sugar. So these are the one sugar units, and they are simplest monosaccharides, like the glucose, fructose. This is the basic unit of carbohydrate. Then we have C, when the two monosaccharides link together, they by the glycosidic bond they are making disaccharide, which are two sugar units, like the sucrose, lactose and maltose. Then we have oligosaccharides. They are the 2 to 9 monosaccharides units linked together to form a glycosidic bond. And the example of oligosaccharide is a disaccharide, and disaccharide examples are like maltose, lactose and sucrose. Very good. Then at the last type of classification of carbohydrate is, do you remember? Yes, very good. This is polysaccharides. So poly mean many and saccharide means sugar. So these are the such kind of carbohydrates which contain a lot of sugar units in them. It can be of two types, hetero or homosaccharide. Homosaccharide contains single type of sugar units in it, while the hetero contain different types of sugar unit in them. And the example of homosaccharide is starch and cellulose, while the heterosaccharides contain a lot of like arban, targatan, pectin and lignin, and also its examples include agar and zinate. So this was all about our previous lecture, that we have studied that carbohydrates are called the hydrates of carbon, and we have seen everything about it. We have discussed. And yes, the classification of carbohydrate is based upon the number of sugar atoms present in it. So this was all about our previous lecture. We have revised everything about it. I hope that you have also revised it with me and everything is clear in your mind. So the benefit of revision is that you will not only make the notes and learn the lecture, but also you will remember it. It's safe in your memory. So every time whenever I start a new lecture, I will revise the previous one so that you can remember it. So I think the revision is little bit too long, but no matters, we can cover the lecture with this time. So now, as you know, that in this lecture we are going to start about the monosaccharides. Okay, so now for the startup, I am going to define what is the monosaccharide is, and I am going to define the monosaccharides into 3 definitions. So first you will give the definition into your long, whenever this long question is given to you, and how you will going to define it. So monosaccharides are the simplest form of carbohydrates. So these are the simplest one. The one thing that is simplest mean it is very simple, it is the basic unit of something. So it is simplest and it is the basic unit of your carbohydrate. This is the basic unit. And why it is the simplest form, why it is the basic unit of carbohydrate? Because it consists of only one sugar unit. So it consists of only one sugar unit. That's why I have called it a basic unit, or it's the simplest sugar, because it has only one sugar unit. Now in the previous lecture I have told you that the single sugar unit doesn't mean that it has only one carbon atom. It can have 3 carbon atom, it can have 4 carbon atom, it can have 5 carbon atom, it can have 6, 7, 8, 9 carbon atoms. So from 3 to 9 it can have any carbon atom with it. Okay, so single sugar unit doesn't mean that it has only one carbon. Okay, it can have many carbon, but the sugar will be the one. Okay, and it cannot be hydrolyzed into the simpler unit. So one property of it, can't hydrolyze, because it is the simplest unit. If you break it, then the sugar cannot exist. Okay, like if I am making a simplest sugar or made up of 3 carbon atoms. Okay, not we cannot make the sugar with the 2 carbon atoms. There is no sugar made up of 2 carbons. So this is not a sugar, this is something else. Okay, so if we hydrolyze it, if we break this sugar, it means we are changing our sugar into something other, into an organic compound, not a sugar. Okay, so this 2 carbon is not a sugar, it's an organic compound, and the 1 carbon is also an organic compound, it's not a sugar. 3 carbon, 4 carbon is a sugar. Okay, 5 carbon is a sugar, but 4 carbon can be hydrolyzed into the 3 carbon, but we can't hydrolyze because it's a simple sugar. Okay, we can't change one sugar into the other. Like if I say this is a 4 carbon, I'm clearing it and making it clear for you, they can't be hydrolyzed. Okay, first is the 3 carbon. I have said that we can't break it, because if we are going to break it, 2 carbon sugar is not existing. But if we say, if we have 4 carbon atoms here, now if I break the 1 carbon and the 3 carbon is a sugar, it can exist? Not at all. We can't break it. If we break it, then it is not a sugar, it is not going to be sugar. So monosaccharides can't be hydrolyzed. No matter what carbon atoms in it, it cannot be hydrolyzed. While if we see the disaccharide or the oligosaccharide or the polysaccharides, they can be hydrolyzed, they can be break down. Because if we see a disaccharide, okay, so what kind of bond is break between the sugar? So in the case of disaccharide, like I am making a disaccharide which is called as sucrose. So I am making a sucrose here. In the sucrose we have 2 sugar units here. First is the glucose, which is linked by another sugar which is called as fructose here. So I have made the structure of the glucose and the fructose. So these two combine with each other with a glycosidic bond. So this bond is called a glycosidic bond. If I break this bond, I am breaking this bond, then 2 sugar units can separate. First is the glucose, second is the fructose. It can be hydrolyzed. Disaccharide can be hydrolyzed, but monosaccharide cannot hydrolyze. So I am giving the concept that why it is not hydrolyzed. So a lot of people don't think about it, they just study about it, and it cannot be hydrolyzed, they just mimic it and don't get the concept of it. So I have cleared it, that why I have said that monosaccharide cannot be hydrolyzed and why poly, oligo and disaccharide can be hydrolyzed, because they have the glycosidic bond, and the glycosidic bond can be hydrolyzed. None other bond can be hydrolyzed within a sugar, and if we break it, then it is not a sugar, it's become an organic compound. Now we cannot call it a sugar. Okay, so this is the major concept that you have to tell it. So this is the first definition that I have told to you. You have to write that monosaccharides are the simplest or the basic unit of carbohydrates consisting of one sugar unit, and they cannot be hydrolyzed into the simpler carbohydrate or the simpler sugar. Okay, so this is the first definition that I have written it within a short words. You can remember it by writing these short words. There is no need to write a complete definition. Just remember these short words. You can make the definition with your own. Okay, so next, the second definition of monosaccharide is that they are consist of, this is the second definition, that monosaccharide consists of single, only one, or you can say a single polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketonic group. Now I am going to clear the concept of this definition. Now we are focusing it. Why we say the single? Because it's a one sugar unit, only one sugar, so it is a single. Poly mean many, hydroxy means this group, this is the hydroxy group. Means if we see a simple sugar, which is the 3 carbon sugar, it has two things. In the previous lecture we have also studied it has only two things. One, it has the hydroxy group. Second, it has the carbonyl group. Okay, so yeah, so it has the carbonyl group, and carbonyl group can be of two types. It can be aldehydic group or it can be a ketonic. So this is the aldehydic group, this is a ketonic group. So I am going to attach one of them. If any structure has this unit, it cannot have this. Both of these groups cannot be occurring at the same time. Okay, so now I am giving this carbon, this aldehydic group, like C double bond OH. This is aldehydic group. Now I will attach OH. This is again OH group. Now this sugar has many hydroxy group but only one aldehydic group here. So it's mean any structure having many hydroxy group and having aldehyde or the ketonic group in it, it means it's a sugar. So this is a structure of a sugar. Now it become a sugar. Now I can increase the number of carbon atom. This is a triose sugar. Okay, having the 3 carbon atoms. I can make a tetraose having the 4 carbon atoms, but it can have aldehyde. Okay, now with the 3 carbon atom I am adding a ketonic group. I can add 3 carbon atoms. Ketonic group will add on the second carbon. Okay, now you can easily make the structure of sugars. Anyone told you that can you make the structure of this sugar, you will say yes, come on, I can do it. So always add the ketonic group on the second carbon. So this is a simple sugar having the 3 carbon atom trioses, having the ketonic group or multi-hydroxy group. So this is a sugar. So always whenever someone give you this structure and told you that whether it is a sugar or not, so you will say that it has a ketonic group and it has many hydroxy group, it means it is a sugar. Now I am giving you another structure and you have to tell me whether it is a sugar or not. So this is a structure containing the 4 carbon atoms here. Okay, so now I am going to add the groups in it and you have to tell whether it is sugar or not. So I am making the structure here. Okay, so this is, I have drawn a structure with the 4 carbon atom having the hydroxy group, and you have to tell me that whether it is a sugar or not. Tell me please. Yes, it is not a sugar, because it contains many hydroxy group in it, but it doesn't have a aldehyde group. It doesn't have any aldehyde group or any ketonic group, so it is not a sugar. Now I am changing it a little bit, and now you have to tell whether it is a sugar or not. So I have do this and this here. Now tell me, it is a sugar or not? Yes, now it is a sugar, because it has a aldehyde group here and multi hydroxy group here, so it means it is a sugar. Doesn't matter what carbon in it, but it has these two things, it means it is a sugar. Now I am making another structure, and you have to tell me whether it is a sugar or not. So I am making a structure here. Now tell me, it is a sugar or not? It's not a sugar, because I have said to you that there is no sugar exists in this nature who has the two carbon atom. Always any sugar which you see have the carbon atom from 3 to 9. Okay, so always when you see a monosaccharide specifically, it contains these carbon atoms. Two carbon atoms is not included here, it means it's not a monosaccharide, it is a organic compound. Because why we are calling it organic compound? Because it contains the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, but it doesn't qualify the needs or the conditions for a sugar. And what are the conditions for sugar? And specifically for a monosaccharide, it should be a single, it should be polyhydroxy aldehydic or ketonic group. Now I think that the concept of this definition will be clear in your mind. So this was the second definition that I have told to you. Whenever someone say you that define the monosaccharide, you can simply define this definition or this definition, both are correct. And there is a third one definition which is longer than the first two definitions, but you can remember it. Okay, it's very easy to remember, so you can add, you can remember the three of them, and you can write down in your paper or in your viva whenever someone tell you or asks about it. So the third definition is that the monosaccharide are such kind of substances that belong to carbohydrate group. Okay, so इसमें हमने क्या कहना है कि they are such substances that have aldehydic or ketonic group. This is a ketonic group, this is the aldehydic group, and they are the product of polyhydroxy alcohol. So they are the क्या है, they are the product of polyhydroxy alcohol. Okay, so what the definition is that monosaccharides are those kind of substances having the ketonic or the aldehydic group in them, or they are the product of polyhydroxy alcohol. So this meaning of definition is just as the definition number 2 has. Okay, yeah, now just revise with me the three definitions of monosaccharide. The first definition is that carbohydrates or the monosaccharides, they are the simplest or the basic unit of carbohydrate consisting of single sugar unit, and they cannot be hydrolyzed into the simple sugar units. Second definition is that they are the single polyhydroxy aldehyde or the ketonic group. Third definition is that monosaccharides are those substances containing the ketonic or the aldehydic group, they are the products of polyhydroxy alcohol in them. So we have covered the definition of monosaccharides here. Now we are going to start the next detail of monosaccharide. Okay, so next we are going to see, after the definition, we are going to see the examples of it. So some examples of monosaccharide we have to add, okay. So the most common examples of monosaccharide that we are going to see in the whole chapter of it is glucose, fructose and lactose. These three are the most important monosaccharides, most important one, because they are using in the daily life, and they have a very important the structures within. So these are the monosaccharide. Glucose and fructose, they are the hexoses containing the 6 carbon atoms within themselves, and they are very important for you. Next thing is that we are going to see the formula of it. The formula for the monosaccharide, we have seen the formula for carbohydrate. Now we are going to see the formula for monosaccharide. So the formula for monosaccharide is that CnH2nOn, which is just similar to the the carbohydrates, but the difference is that the n value, its n value starts from 3 to 7, or you can say 3 to 9. Okay, these two can be occur. Okay, and you can define the formula for the carbohydrates can be CH2O whole over n. So n value is given to you, which is from 3 to 7. So we have seen the definition of monosaccharide, we have seen the three definitions of it, we have seen the example, and we have seen the formula for it. For now we are going to start the structure of monosaccharide, as we have seen the structure of carbohydrates. Do you remember? Yes, we have seen the structure of carbohydrates, that it will contains. Yeah, so we have seen the structure of carbohydrate, which we have seen that its structure contains two things, two kind of groups it has. First, it has the multiple hydroxyl group. Second, it has the carbonyl group, which could be aldehyde group or ketonic group. Okay, similarly, same case with the monosaccharide. Just the difference is that the monosaccharide, the monosaccharide will be same one. Just the difference in the number of n. Number of n can be 3 to 9 in the case of monosaccharides. Or you can say in the case of oligosaccharide, the number is from 2 to 9, but in the case of monosaccharide, the number is from 3 to 7 or 3 to 9. Okay, so these things can be happened. Okay, so now in the case of oligosaccharide, they have said that the number can be 2, but I don't think so there is any sugar that can exist of 2 carbon atoms. But if there is one, then I will told to you. So but just this is the structure of monosaccharide. And next thing is that it can be linear or it can be cyclic, means the structure could be in the form of a chain like, or it can be in the form of a ring like. We have studied it earlier. So it can be in the form of chain, like chain of many carbon atoms you can add. Like I have draw a chain. This is consist of 5 carbon atoms. This is pentaoses. In the case of monosaccharide, I can make the cyclic ring of it. Okay, so how I am going to make the ring of it? Like first carbon atom, second, third, then we are going to add. So this is a 5 carbon atom ring. This is a chain, and this is the ring of it. So monosaccharide can be in the form of chain or can be in the form of ring. So this is includes in the structure of monosaccharide. Okay, so now we are going to see what is the function of monosaccharide. So what are the functions of them? What are their roles? As we have seen the role of carbohydrate, the function of carbohydrate. So monosaccharide is what function? It is a source of energy, same. It is a building block of complex carbohydrates. So monosaccharides are the basic unit. With this basic unit, with this repeating unit, we can make the other complex sugars. It is a structure component. It is making DNA, RNA. RNA is ribose, DNA, deoxyribose. They are simply monosaccharides. So they are making DNA is a very important component of a cell. So it is a sugar. It is a carbohydrate. RNA, it is a sugar, carbohydrate. Cellulose within the plant cell wall, it's a sugar. Monosaccharide play important role in the cell signaling, and it is an important component of our dietary fiber. So these were the functions of them. I am not going to write it, just you know that what is the monosaccharide, what is the function of it. You can you have not going to mimic these kind of functions. You already know what a monosaccharide is, what is their role. First role is about their energy. They are storing the energy, they are transferring the energy, they are cell signaling. They are important component of DNA, RNA, cellulose, starch, cartilage, everything that you remember at that time, and glycogen also. Then they are the building blocks of complex carbohydrate. They are important part of our dietary fiber. So these are the functions of monosaccharides. Next thing is their source, from which source they are obtaining. Now you know that we can get a natural source, we can get a synthetic source. So we have two types of source from which we can get. First is the natural one, second is the synthetic one. Natural source of monosaccharide or the simple sugar is like fruits. Your fruits have the sugar in them, which is in the form of monosaccharide. In the honey you have see the sugars, which is a monosaccharide. In the vegetables, in the milk, we have the sugars in the form of monosaccharides. And next thing is in the industries we use the monosaccharides as the flavoring agent, and we can synthesize them within an industry. Second thing and the last thing that we are going to discuss about the monosaccharide is their properties. So what are the properties of them? We will check their solubility, their sweetness. So these comes under the properties of anything. Properties, you can call the characteristics of it. So the first property that we see is about its solubility, that whether it is soluble or not. So we have seen that the monosaccharide is soluble into the water. These are the simple sugar. Okay, so you have seen that whenever you dissolve your simple sugar, chini, when you dissolve it into the water, it is soluble into the water. Okay, so it means it is soluble in water. इस स्वीटनेस की बात करें अगर हम, sweetness, so the order of sweetness, which is the more sweet among the all the monosaccharides. So fructose is the most sweetest. Its sweetness is more than the glucose or than the galactose. So in the making of syrup, in the making of a lot of things that are sweet in taste, like the elixirs, if we want more sweetness, we can use fructose, while because the sweetness is much more than the glucose or our galactose. Okay, so we have seen the second property. The third property is the optical activity. So what is its optical activity? Optical activity means to rotate under the plane polarized light, and whether it rotates the left side or whether it rotates the right side. On the base of optical activity, we have divided the monosaccharide into the D form or the L form. ठीक है, whenever you put or you lead the plane polarized light over your sugar, the sugar causes the rotation of light, whether on the left side of it or the right side. If it is rotating over the right side, it forms the D form. If it rotates the left side, then it forms the left side, which is levorotatory, or the levo or right or dextrorotatory. Okay, so similarly we have D glucose, mean the glucose which have rotate the light dextro on the right side. Similarly L glucose rotate the light over the left side, which is levorotatory. Okay, after that we have the first, second and third, and next is the fourth property of monosaccharide, which is tautomerism. Tautomerism is the property in which aldo or keto form are interconvertible, mean the aldo sugar convert itself into the keto sugar. So this property is called tautomerism, which is present within the monosaccharide. Okay, so these are the things that we have covered in this lecture. We have seen the introduction of monosaccharide. In the next lecture we will discuss the classification of monosaccharide on the basis of different things. So just I am going to revise the today's lecture, that what we have studied. First of all, we have studied the three definitions of monosaccharide. First definition is that monosaccharide are the simplest and the basic unit of carbohydrate, consisting of single sugar unit, and they cannot be hydrolyzed into the simpler compounds. Next definition is that the carbohydrates or your monosaccharide, they are the single polyhydroxy group that can be or the carbonyl group can be aldehydic or the ketonic group within themselves. Third definition was that your monosaccharides, they are the single polyhydroxy the third definition that we have studied is that they are the substances that belong to carbohydrate group that can be ketonic or aldehydic, and they are the product of polyhydroxy alcohol. Okay, so after that we have studied what is the example of it. Examples are like glucose, fructose, galactose. Then we have studied the formula of it. Do you remember it? Yes, very good. Okay, then after that we have studied, okay, so we have studied the structure of it. We have studied that its structure can be linear or cyclic one. Then we have come toward the function of it. Its function is energy sourcing, building block of complex carbohydrate, dietary fiber. It is the component of our structural component like DNA, RNA, cartilage, glycogen. We have cellulose, chitin. So these kind of structures are made up of it, and it play important role in the cell signaling. Then its sources can be natural or the artificial one. It can be natural source like fruits, vegetable, can be from the milk and the honey, and it can be from the artificial source made in the industries. Its property, it has the four properties. It has the property of, okay, so I am raising it, then you have to tell me what are the properties. Okay, so now you tell me. So its properties are like solubility, like it's soluble into our water. Second property is that its optical activity, like it can rotate the pane polarized right into the right side or the left side. On the base of optical activity, it has the two type, D form and L form. Sorry for that. Then we have said that it has the property of tautomerism, in which we can convert the aldo sugar into the keto sugar. Then we have the property which is called the sweetness, that the fructose is much sweeter than the glucose and galactose. So these are the properties of monosaccharide that we have discussed. So this was the lecture that we have told to you. Sorry for the video is too much long, but I hope that you have seen to the last end of it. And if you like this video, then please subscribe to this channel, like my video, and also press that so that you can get the notification of all the videos that I have uploaded. Thank you so much for seeing my video, and meet you soon in the next lecture with the topic of classification of monosaccharide. Take care. Allah Hafiz.